All right, welcome back to episode 2 of the Loop podcast. I am your host today. I am the red-bearded BA, Jason C, in the forums. I am one of the members of the Writers Club here, and I've also got with me a couple of guys from the Writers Club. If y'all go ahead and just introduce yourselves real quick.
Hi, I'm Bhavishya and I go by the names Bhavi at the forums.
Hi, I'm Dhruv. You might know me as Dinak Paldiji on the forums. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Thank you guys for joining in. We might have one or two other people hopping on in just a minute, but we're going to go get started. Today, we are talking all about the new Concept OnePlus 8T that was announced a couple days ago. For those of you that might have missed it, OnePlus announced another concept phone. Not really sure if it's a follow-up, but it's the second in their line of concept devices. And this one is based off the OnePlus 8T. I think they're also calling it the OnePlus Gaudi. But basically, if you haven't seen it, it's a phone that the back of the phone actually can change colors depending on different things. They've tied it into the 5G millimeter wave radios. And so depending on if the phone has a 5G signal, then the back of the phone will actually change colors. So it's a pretty interesting device. So what do you guys think? Like, what's the big deal with this? Like, why do you think OnePlus even decided to do this kind of a concept?
Well, in my opinion, when you look at phones right now, they've basically become the same blocks of glass metal sandwiches with a camera island on the top left corner. So you need to differentiate your brand, you need to differentiate your phone. So I think it's commendable that OnePlus is at least trying things out by trying to change up the back or changing the colors, something like that. It goes with its philosophy of how, while all the other brands were sticking to colors like neutral shades like black and gray and white, it started experimenting with greens and blues, the infamous thunder purple of the 60. I think it's just an attempt to differentiate the brand.
What about you, Bobby? Do you have any ideas or thoughts about why OnePlus would do this kind of a concept phone?
Okay, so in my opinion, like every other phone is basically the same. Full 16:9 aspect ratio screen and a back with a big camera bump, 2 to 3 cameras or more. So maybe something to differentiate, something, the technology that can offer in the future in the smartphone design. So maybe that was the aim to, have such, I would say, like, I was really impressed when I saw the, promotion video. Like, I was like, wow, that is actually happening. An actual phone that changes color on environment and surroundings and all the other stuff. Like, it was like, yeah, so basically it's just a kind of a new refresh to the smartphone design, that the plateau to end that plateau curve on the smartphone design. So maybe that is the main reason OnePlus decided to go for this concept.
What do you think about it, Jason?
Well, I'm really intrigued by it because I love hardware design. Like, that's one of the things that I go in for a phone, and I love colors. And so being able to like change the color of the phone, I think is fascinating. But I also love that OnePlus is like continuing their roots of innovating. They're trying new things. They're attempting something that hasn't been done before. And instead of just like keeping it locked away in a research lab, they're showing everybody, hey, this is what we're trying to do. This is some of the stuff we're working on. And I think it's fascinating. It kind of goes back to their first concept phone, the OnePlus Concept One. That was the take off the 7 Pro. We had the electromagnetic glass on the back that would fog up or turn the camera off, kind of thing. So I really like that they're trying these new different innovations.
Speaking of the OnePlus Concept One, I think that was actually quite an amazing concept, at least in the way that they implemented it. Because when you look at phones, and it's like the 7 Pro right now only has 3 cameras, then you come to phones like the Nokia PureView, new ones that they're launching, and like half of the back is just a lot of cameras arranged in a very trypophobic arrangement. It's scary, honestly. So having something that looks as smooth like that with the whole, so I really wish for that technology to come into production, to be honest. And over here, I'm hoping that it comes into production, but I want to see like how do they realistically hope to implement this when everybody uses a case nowadays. How do you plan to show that look, your phone can change color? Is there anything like that you're thinking of right now? Any potential pitfalls of this concept phone?
Yeah, that was kind of my next question too, is like what would be the benefits or negatives? Like how would this work in an actual production phone? And that was a good point about a lot of people use a case, so I don't know if they'd have to like figure out a way that it could work with cases or just be like, hey, only only use a clear case. I don't know. But that is interesting. Well, I mean, there's other questions to think about too. Like, does it work with wireless charging? With the OnePlus 8 Pro had wireless charging, and, the rumor mills are saying that the OnePlus 9 Pro is going to have wireless charging. So for this kind of a concept to work, I don't really see them putting it on like the mid-level phones because that doesn't make sense. But would it work with wireless charging? I don't know. What do you guys think?
I personally do not think that they plan to implement it on phones at all because it's gonna be a bit gimmicky, and OnePlus isn't a brand known to do gimmicky things, right? Like a phone that can change colors. I feel it's going to tie into their other ecosystem products. Like this kind of technology is much more useful as a breathing light on smartphones. What if we see this on the watch, the OnePlus Watch that's about to come? It'll just be easier on the battery than an AOD.
Well, yeah, that's another question. I mean, is this going to impact battery life? Is this something that's is it going to be a negligible difference, or is it, are they going to have to include a bigger battery in the phones? I mean, their fast charging capabilities are fantastic. The 65-watt charging is incredible. But does that? So I don't know if like the 65-watt charging is in anticipation of this kind of stuff. Like, hey, we'll charge it faster because it's going to die quicker now. But it, those are all the kind of things to think about. So there's definitely some cons to it, but. What about some of the other benefits of it? Besides just changing colors, is there any other actual like useful functions or features you could get from something like this?
The one use case that all the articles and everything that stated was like recording your breathing pattern.
So real quick, we just had Yash join us, hop into the podcast here. So Yash, how you doing? Can you introduce yourself, man?
Hey, what's up, everyone? So this is Yashovardhan Naguri, also known as Yasho Naguri on the forums, and I'm pumped to join in on the second episode as well. And sorry for being late.
Yeah. Hey, better late than never, man. We're glad you're here. Real quick, just to catch you up, we've been talking about the new OnePlus 8T concept phone that was announced a couple days ago. And so we've been talking about the benefits of it, the downsides of it. What are some actual things that, is it going to work with wireless charging? Is it going to affect battery life? And we've been talking about potential positive use cases. I think for me, kind of the most obvious benefit of it would be like notification. If it's sitting on my desk or something, would it shine a different color for a different notification? Could I have blue for text messages? Could I have yellow for WhatsApp? Could I have like green for email? Something like that. Do you guys think that's even possible?
I personally, the current way in which they've described the technology, I do not know because they're talking about changing voltages, right? So how many colors can you hope to get by changing voltages? That's what I'm thinking about right now. Unless you have multiple LEDs inside, because it's the same concept as LED in some way. So I don't know if they can show multiple colors. It'll be amazing if they're able to give us like 3 or 4 colors because that's a lot of customization possible right there. A lot of apps that you can just configure, like a lot of app groups that you can configure. But yeah, I am pretty excited about this.
For me, I guess I've been missing the LED notification for a long time, and it's good to see something like the scope for like some sort of indicator for notifications, and I'd love to see what they can do with it. But as Dhruv said, like that concerns me as well. Like how many colors would be possible? How many apps are possible? Would it be customizable? And I'm just like, it was really nice to see something new come up because smartphone backs have been getting boring for a really long time now, and it was good to see something like that come up. But yeah, I didn't like the design very much, like the shape they made on the back. I wasn't a very big fan of that, but in general, I think I like the concept, and I'm looking forward to see what they can do with it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like the actual physical shape of it wasn't the coolest, but the idea that they're trying to do something like that, I think is pretty cool. And so, so I guess the question we're all wondering is, this kind of technology, the odds are something exactly like what they showed ending up in a consumer device is very, very small. So what do you think from that they actually might be able to bring into a consumer device? Like is there any idea from that concept that actually could make it into a phone that we can actually buy?
Well, I talked about how it might be a feature on the watch or anything else that may be turned on for a long time because I think it's going to be easier on the battery than an always-on display, honestly, because it won't also have those issues of screen burn-in and the likes. So I think they might try to put it as a feature on the watch. That's one way we can see this technology. I really hope that the camera, that electromagnetic glass that they showed on the Concept One, I really hope something like that happens. And I think they can introduce it on the regular models at least. Because or a camera focused model, because after a while the number of modules on our phones is just becoming crazy. It's like a second camera island on top of an already big home. It's kind of becoming multi-level at this point. It's crazy. So Yeah, honestly, but I can't think of much cases.
Bobby brought up a good point about the millimeter wave sensor that they're actually using to detect different things and to be able to change, like when your phone is on 5G, that's when it changes the color. That's a really interesting concept. So Bobby, do you want to expand on that? Like what do you think that might bring into another phone?
I'm just wondering, like they're using a millimeter wave sensor on the back to, sense all surrounding around the phone. Is it gonna be, a problem for the 5G network built in the phone? Maybe, maybe not. But are there any more better sensors to use other than the millimeter wave sensor? Like maybe like Google came up with Project Soli in their previous Pixel devices, but it wasn't welcomed by the market. But what if there is a new sensor that someone can build?
Yeah, that is really interesting. I think Project Soli was a really interesting idea, especially if you watch when they first unveiled the technology, they were using it in a watch, which was really fascinating. For some reason that never made it out, but they implemented in the Pixel 4, obviously, but it didn't sell very well. It wasn't they didn't bring it back. They killed it off just in the 4. So something like this, I think that's a fascinating idea of being able to combine the really, granular LiDAR sensors, solely radar sensors, and 5G sensors. Like, is there something brewing on the horizon that's a whole new type of sensor? I don't know. That's a really interesting idea.
Exactly. Like, because if they're using millimeter wave sense, like it cannot sense colors. It can only send millimeter waves that bounces back and it reads according to what the environment is having. Like maybe someone is breathing, so it changes upon the person's breathing. Maybe
Maybe. Well, you brought up real quick, before we move on to the next point, you brought up interesting something about breathing sensors. Maybe there's even like a health aspect or a medical aspect to that. Like it can sense if your breathing is low or your breathing is erratic or something like that, or maybe it can do that. I don't know. So that'd be interesting. So kind of the last interesting point about this that I want to talk about is the AT concept was actually the brainchild and the product of an entirely new creative design studio at OnePlus called OnePlus Gaudi. So it's and it's made up of a team of designers. They're all creative designers. And so I think the really curious thing is, what else are they going to do? What's the next thing they're going to come out with? Is this like a new phase of artistic collaboration, or is this a new phase of kind of moonshot technology? I mean, what do we think this OnePlus Gaudi design studio is going to be?
So up until now, especially, I don't know how it's like in the West, but in India especially, whatever designer stuff comes out of OnePlus, it's usually out of stock all the time. Like I was trying to get a cover for my 8 Pro. I still haven't been able to get it. Like it's been 5 or 6 months I've been trying to get one. Always out of stock. So we never usually get the designer stuff at all. And I just saw that there was a special edition Bud Z launched in the US and in Europe, but they're still not available in India for some reason. We never get the exclusive limited edition stuff. So not really looking forward to the new design team.
Well, they did, to that point, they did say some of the designers and the design team is in India. So maybe they're trying to make a push to bring more of these products into India, which would be nice.
I feel that, OnePlus is growing as a brand. We saw that they launched the Nord right now. So it's clear that as they try to launch more technology, I'm pretty sure they are trying to set up their own R&D capability, because a lot of the technologies that we find is distinctive for OnePlus are actually things that they might have borrowed from other companies, or it might be derivatives of that. Like SuperVOOC is the basis now in Watt charging, and Oppo had 65-watt charging before OnePlus introduced it with the 80. So I think Project Gaudi is its attempt to become a more independent brand and have some R&D happen under the OnePlus umbrella, so that it has its own unique things to offer other than just Oxygen OS. I think it's just another part of its growth as a brand.
Yeah, I'm excited to see. I think it's definitely a sign of OnePlus maturing as a company, that they're going to have their own, specifically designed studio in-house, which is really exciting. So hopefully we'll start to see maybe a little bit more differentiation from OnePlus and its sister brands. Maybe there'll be some more unique stuff coming out. All right, so real quick, last few minutes, I want to kind of change gears a little bit. And Pete Lau dropped a little bit of a bombshell on us, confirmed that the OnePlus Watch is finally coming. The one thing we've all been waiting on for about 2-3 years now. He finally confirmed it's been coming. It was in development, it was out of development, it was in development, it was out of development. But finally, we're getting a watch. So what do you guys think? Are you guys excited about this? Like, what do we think it's going to look like? Is it going to be just another circular one? Is it going to be an Apple Watch clone? Like, what do we think? What's it going to be?
I personally feel that, yeah, the design is definitely going to be circular because that's basically what all watches are selected right now. And personally, what I want to see is what kind of features they bring to the table. Yeah, because some of the technology that OnePlus focuses on does actually make a difference. For example, you need to charge a smartwatch every day. I'm using a smart band. It's a cheap smart band, but I need to charge it every 3 or 4 days. I need to keep it on charge for like the entire night, where it takes 2 or 3 hours. So I think if they're able to integrate dash charge and all that circuitry inside a small watch, it's going to be pretty goddamn cool because you just need to plug it out for 10 minutes to get a full charge. That'll be very cool. And as far as other unique features up there, I'm pretty sure that they'll have some kind of integration with Oxygen OS.
I was saying that I think Dhruv put up a great point. First of all, I think OnePlus is going to launch a health app like every other company. Like if you're launching a watch, you definitely have to launch a health app. And I hope that OnePlus tries to clone Apple here. I honestly feel that the Apple Watch is the best smartwatch out there, considering the features and it's just amazing. Like it does everything you want a watch to do. And I hope like this time they take up a lot of features from that and it's as stable and unbuggy as the Apple Watch. I hope, like I've heard some great reviews of the Apple Watch and I feel like they're finally able to give out a competitor from the Android side to the Apple Watch, because other watches always feel like they lack something, some or the other thing, some little thing which is always missing. And I'm excited to see what they do with the battery as well, because that is a very main and crucial aspect of a smart. If it's good, I think I'm going to get it.
Kind of agree with Yash here. And also like Dhruv brought up a very good point about, fast charging capabilities in the small watch. And I think that they can do it. Like if they can implement a fast charging in such a small earbud case, like I know watch is much smaller than that, but still they can pull it off. And I think if they did, like it will be a great hit. And also like pointing out what Yash said, that, OnePlus could release a health app when they release a new watch, because when we look at Apple Watch is famous not only because of like what it offers, but because of the integration with all the Apple ecosystem it gives, right? And I think OnePlus took a long time for a watch because maybe they were, creating such an ecosystem that when the watch drops and like we have your competition here. So I'm personally very much excited for a new watch, and I'm looking forward to what kind of, integration, what kind of ecosystem it's going to present, because now we have OnePlus devices, we have OnePlus earbuds, we have OnePlus TVs, right? So I can see a future, ecosystem, OnePlus ecosystem building up. And with the watch, this ecosystem is obviously going to expand. But what kind of integration capabilities it will introduce? That is the main thing that I will be looking for.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that too, because episode 1, we talked a lot about ecosystems. I do think it's fascinating. To me, I think the biggest holdup for Android smartwatches has been Wear OS, right? It's been the software. For whatever reason, it's been buggy, it's been slow, it hasn't integrated well with Android phones. And that's kind of been the biggest Achilles heel of Android smartwatches. So the question is OnePlus going to release their watch running Oxygen OS, or is it going to be running Wear OS? I mean, if they can figure out a way to put Oxygen OS on their watch, I think it's game over. But the biggest question, like you were saying, Bobby, is how is that going to integrate with the rest of the ecosystem? The trick will be, does it work with and integrate with your phone as well as the Apple Watch does? Does it provide the same benefit that's worth spending $150, $200 on something like this? Which I guess is kind of another question too. What do you guys think this will be priced at? Are they going to try to price it like the Buds and really price it aggressively, or are they going to try to put it up there with the Apple Watch and the Samsung Galaxy watches?
Honestly, I have absolutely no idea how OnePlus is going to price this, because their pricing strategy is based on some ulterior motive as part of how they want to project themselves. Because you look at the OnePlus Buds, they were priced reasonably. Then the Buds Z were a killer deal. You look at the 8 Pro, they've gone to flagship level prices. And then you look at the OnePlus TV, the first OnePlus TV they launched, it was so expensive. Like they launched it for 63,000 in India, and then almost I think 90,000 something rupees, with the soundbar, and that is quite expensive in TV terms. So honestly, I have no idea which way they will go with the watch. It honestly they'll probably just launch two variants of the watch. That's what my guess is.
Yeah, I don't know either. I hope they price it aggressively. I hope they do their flagship killers idea where they, here's the comparable smartwatch, but we're going to price it $100 less than everybody else. So I guess the last question about the watch before we say goodbye here, what would be the one feature you think that they could implement with the watch that would just change the game, that would up the competition for everybody else? Or is there even one thing that they could implement that just game over for everybody else?
Okay, so judging how OnePlus releases their product, right? So there is a kind of trend, you can say, kind of reputation in all the product lines. It's that they price the first product of a lineup, for example, the buds. They priced it very competitively, right? The buds had some basic features that a normal pair of true wireless earbuds should have. I think that they will release the watch with basic features like reading your heartbeat and checking your oxygen levels and all that. But with that, it will help them to place it in a very strategic way, in a very competitive way with other smartwatches out there. In the future, we might see another watch with a more competitive price, some features that has been cut down to keep the cost low. And then when all the hype and all the market is gonna settle around the OnePlus Watch, they'll release another watch with all the high-end stuff.
I agree. That's hilarious. I think that's exactly right. See, I think they could go either way. They could try to do like all the features that they can, price competitively, or they could try to do like, price it like $35, and just do like the basic, most bare bones functionality and just like take a loss on it just to get it out there. I don't know. But to me, I think the biggest thing is going to be design and integration. If they can figure out a way to make it not suck from a software standpoint, then I think that's it. Finding that balance of something that's unique and stands out and that is inexpensive but still takes Wear OS and does it really well. So if they can integrate it into, I'm curious to see, like with the TV that came out and they had the unique integration with the OnePlus phones, is there going to be something else that's like, hey, you can only do this on a OnePlus Watch? Well, I think that about does it for our time, guys. We really appreciate all of you guys joining in. Stay tuned for episode 3, which will be coming hopefully in the next month, maybe 6 weeks or so. With the holidays, we got a little behind on our schedule, but we'll be getting back into that pretty soon. Thanks for joining, guys. We appreciate it, and we'll see you guys next time.